Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this is the Oppo Find N5. Many people have been asking me to check this out. I've wanted to check it out myself, and thanks to Oppo for sending this along. It's not a sponsored review, but they did send it so I could check it out. It's not available in the United States, but you'll see here it says Oppo AI phone Find N5, and it's supposed to be the thinnest phone there is with Hasselblad cameras as well. Let's go ahead and open it up. Now, I have tried some of their devices in the past. You'll see as we open the top of the box, here we have the phone itself, and that's incredibly thin. Let's go ahead and set it aside just for a moment and see what we get. So inside the box, we have a plug. Now, we don't have this sort of style outlet in the United States, so you can use maybe the One Plus adapter, but you'll see it's USB-A, and then we have some information here as well. It's Super VOOC, of course, just like a One Plus, but this is something, again, I can't use here as we don't have this outlet, but I'll try it with the Super VOOC charger that I have for OnePlus. Also inside the box, it looks like we've got a few different things. So quite a few different things. So we've got the charger along with a USB-A to USB-C cable, a quick start guide, a safety guide, looks like a SIM card removal tool. So it's great that it still has a physical SIM. And then we have a case, it looks like. So a case for the back sort of has a nice almost vinyl or leathery texture to it. It's flexible, but it looks like it will attach and folds as well. Let me set this aside so we can take a look at the phone itself. So here is the phone. Like I said, it's incredibly thin. Let's see how we can open this up here. And this feels very almost crazy to hold in your hands how thin this is. So let me show you a different phone next to it. This is the iPhone 16 Pro Max. As you can see here, how thin this is. So about half the thickness. So I'll close it in just a moment. Let me compare it with the Samsung Z Fold. This is the latest one. So you can see here, just the edge, how thin that is. So that's pretty incredible how thin it is here. Let's go ahead and close it. We'll turn it on in just a moment. So we'll close it like that. And again, side by side. It's unbelievably thin. Of course, we do have a big camera bump on the back, but closed, it's about the thickness of an iPhone. The entire thing, even with the camera bump. So that's pretty impressive overall as far as the size. Let's go ahead and take a look around the outside edge. So with it closed on the right-hand side, it looks like we have a switch here, maybe similar to OnePlus, so we could set it to vibrate, something that all Android phones should have. We have a volume button, it looks like. We've got a power sleep wake button on the side. And then on the bottom, we have a USB-C port. And look how thin this is around the USB-C port. So you can see how thin that is if you have a USB-C cable, just the overall thickness. Looks like we've got our microphone here, another microphone along with speakers, and then a SIM card tray. Let's go ahead and take out the SIM card tray and see what we've got here. So we'll pop that out. And it looks like we can fit two SIMs side by side. So SIM 1, SIM 2, and then we have a little gasket around it. We don't have expandable storage here, so you'll see that, but we can place it in the phone. And if you have two SIM cards, it will work with that. I always like to see physical SIM cards. Now, as far as its overall build, we've got a titanium hinge. We also have aluminum as far as the overall build, or aluminum, depending on where you live, and then glass on the front. On the back, it feels like it may be glass or sort of a composite material. It has a nice look to it as well. And then the overall weight is 229 grams. Now, the overall displays, the cover display is 6.62 inches. It's an LTPO OLED 2616 by 1140, and it's a 120 hertz display up to 2450 nits. So that's great. It supports HDR10. And then inside, we have an 8.12 inch display. So 2248 by 2480, again, 120 hertz, and it goes up to 2100 nits. So really nice overall. You can see the crease there. It's not too reflective either compared to maybe an iPhone here. So let's turn this off. So compared to an iPhone, you can see the reflectivity side by side. So not bad at all. And then again, compared to a Samsung, both turned off, you can see the difference in crease, definitely more noticeable on the Samsung and more reflective as well. Now, as far as the back here, We do have 3 different cameras. We have a 50 megapixel main camera, f1.9 with optical image stabilization, a 50 megapixel telephoto, and then also an 8 megapixel ultra wide. So some nice options there. And then we have an 8 megapixel on the cover and an 8 megapixel camera on the inner display. Let's go ahead and turn this on. So we'll boot it up. We do have a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite with 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of storage. There we go. It's booting up. You can see the display. It says powered by Android, and we'll take a look at PWM in just a moment. So give it a moment to boot up. If we open it up, you'll see it's there as well. There we go. There's the nice boot up animation. And very vibrant display. So that looks great. You'll see if we move it over here. Now this maybe was set up by someone else. It looks like it was. I didn't set this up at all. And again, this looks really great. You can't tell the creases there at all. So if we go into the camera, we'll allow while using, and you can see the case behind here. This looks really great. In fact, this might be the first folding phone I would actually like to have. It's so thin that you wouldn't really notice that it's a fold. And if we place the case on the back, you can see it here. Let me get rid of this little sticker. It has a nice texture to it with the case on here, and it's super thin. It just keeps it nice and thin. It looks great overall. Now it does have 5G connectivity, Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 5.4, and NFC. Now as far as charging, like I said, you can charge it very rapidly. We're currently down to, let's turn it on here. We're down to 32%. Let me go ahead and plug it in. This is the SuperVOOC charger from the OnePlus 13. Let me grab the cable here so we can charge it and see what we've got. So let's go ahead and plug it in. There we go. And it's charging. So it says 80 watts, 32.25, and you can see it start to ramp up right away. It's a pretty incredible charging system. And again, let's turn it back on. It says finish setting up your Oppo Find N5. Remind me later. Nice and fast, super smooth. You can see that here if we go into photos. There's the photo I took. Everything just feels super fast and fluid. If we go into our system settings here, let's see if we have any sort of update. So I'll connect it to Wi-Fi. Let's also set up the fingerprint unlock. So we'll go ahead and use that on the side here. Set up my fingerprint, and let's go ahead and lock it, unlock it, nice and fast. So that's definitely nice. Let's go ahead and open it up. Nice animation there. Let's take a look at what other wallpaper we have. So we'll go in, you'll see the different options here. All pretty nice. So let's go ahead and maybe select this one. We can apply it to both. Apply. This is nice and fast. Give it just a second here. And then you have different system colors and everything else. So again, let's close that, open that back up. If we lock it, open it, and it's not animated. I'll change that a little bit later. If we go back into settings, now if we're in settings and we go to system and updates, let's see if we have a software update. We're running Color OS with Android 15, and it's super fluid. So it says we've got an update. We can improve system stability. Let's download and install that for now. We're already at 40% for the overall charge. Now, while we do that, let me go ahead and check for PWM. Many people, this may bother their eyes, but let's see how it goes here. So we'll take a look at it at 240 frames per second. And as you can see on the inside screen, it's hardly noticeable at 240 frames per second. However, on the outside screen, it's definitely noticeable. Now, on the OnePlus side of things, they have some great options for this under display. So we've got eye comfort and sleep. We have bedtime modes, eye comfort. It ensures continual visual updates. We can customize it. We have a schedule, but we don't have anything as far as reducing PWM like the OnePlus 13, at least according to what I see so far. As far as anything else, well, it looks pretty nice. We have quick cards and all sorts of different options here. So we have welcome to snap cards. Next, we can add those. The overall OS is super fluid and fast though. It seems really nice, and of course I'll have to use it for a little while, but this is really impressive as far as the overall thinness. Battery wise, now that we're charging it at 80 watts, it's a 5600 milliamp hour battery in this tiny little package with some new technology. It also has reverse wireless charging, so super impressive as far as that goes. I'm still waiting for the phone to finish updating, but one thing I wanted to mention is with its Super VOOC charging, I'm incredibly impressed at how cool the phone is, despite it charging at such a rapid rate. So if I unplug it here, we'll plug it back in, and you'll see it will show the animation. We're at 49%. When I started the video, we were around 30%. We're at 80-watt charging, and again, it's barely warm to the touch. It's super impressive all the way around here. And while some heat is expected, as when you're charging or doing anything intensive, it will heat up, this is just super impressive overall. In fact, let me show you with the thermal camera since I have it nearby. You'll see we're still charging. It's actually preparing an update, and that's something that's fairly intensive usually. If we set it down there at the hottest point, we're around about 38 degrees Celsius. So not very warm at all considering it's fast charging and also installing an update. Pretty impressive overall. The update has been installed, and you can see we're already at 66% battery life just in the short amount of time that I started making this video. So very impressive. They even have update notes here with everything. This seems to be a pretty nice operating system overall. Very fluid and fast, and considering I just started it up, you'll see it's a little bit slow at first, but that's because it just rebooted after the update. I've been using the Oppo Find N5 for a couple of days now. I wiped it, started it over since it was already set up, and then I customized it a little bit, gave it some round icons, changed the wallpaper, and wanted to share a few different thoughts here as well. Now, the cover display, I wanted to mention, picks up a lot of fingerprints. I don't know if the oleophobic coating just isn't that great, but I find that I have to wipe it off constantly. I don't see that as much with the inner display, but definitely see it with the outer display a little bit more. Now, the outer display does bother my eyes due to PWM quite a bit. However, the inner display doesn't seem to bother me that much. I showed that a little bit earlier, but it definitely seems to be true. The inner display might be at a higher rate, it must be, because it's not really bothering my eyes. Using this is really great. It's super fast and smooth. The overall multitasking interface is great, so we can go in here and go through any app we want, bring it in here, of course, and then we can split screen or go to full-size apps, go back and forth, and it's just really great to use. So overall, the experience is pretty good. You can bring in additional windows, bring in a little sidebar here with your files, messages, and more. So I like the operating system. I find it to be super clean, and the experience overall is just pretty great. I think just using it is a really nice experience on Android, very similar to OnePlus 13 as far as the overall smoothness. No complaints there. The multitasking is great, and we do have quite a few pre-installed apps. I installed Discord and the other ones, Waze and Telegram, but everything else here was pre-installed, from Facebook to Messenger to Gemini to things such as YouTube, as well as TikTok and others. So those were all pre-installed. Netflix was as well. I didn't install that. I don't have too much of an issue with that, but it is something I thought I'd mention. You can go back into what you had open here before. It saves it here down in the dock. And I love that it has the little switch just like OnePlus. So you can silence it or change it to whatever you'd like. So you'll see it silent, ring, or vibrate here in the middle. I think that's a great thing, and all Android phones should have that. As far as the camera, I haven't used it that much, honestly. We do have 4K 60 on the rear-facing camera for video, of course, portraits and things like that. However, the photo or video camera on the inside here does not have 4K 60. It has 4K 30. So that's a little bit of a disappointment, but overall, the camera is pretty good, especially for a foldable. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but it's definitely very good. The video quality is where it struggles a little bit, but in general, I think it's a great camera. No real complaints, and if you're using it day to day, I think most people would be pretty happy with this. Of course, you may get better video from things such as maybe a Pixel or an iPhone, but the photos overall, I think most people will be pretty happy with. And you even have a zoom lens here, where you can zoom way into my keyboard here, and it still looks pretty clear. So no real complaints there. And of course, it's got that Hasselblad sort of look to it that looks great. As far as the battery life, I haven't used it enough to see what that's like, but honestly, I don't really think about it with this device because I can just plug it in and get that incredibly fast charge. So you'll see I'm already at 97%, so it's not really going to charge super fast, but I do have the plug right here. You can wirelessly charge it pretty fast as well, but you'll see there, it says Super VOOC. We've got some updates there. And if we go to the lock screen, you can see it's charging. It's not really going to charge very fast because it's on optimized charging right now, but we do have a bunch of different options and customizations. I really do like the customizations built into this. And again, I've been pretty impressed with this. I just wish all phones were this thin, and iPhone 17 Air is supposedly going to be about this thin. So this is incredible, just one half of this, and to see this in a foldable being as thick as a current iPhone or Pixel or any of those is very, very impressive. I also like this texture. It's hard to see in this lighting, but this nice texture on the back is really great. But other than that, I really have no complaints about it, and I'd love to hear what you think about it in the comments below. Would you like to know additional things, see some comparisons, or anything you haven't seen elsewhere? I'd love to hear from you in the comments, and I'll try and answer those. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.